So I was just doing the math, looking at my numbers, just to let you know, my earnings for the year, for my first year in coaching. Discover how much I earned inside of this video. Hey there, Nicole Cooper here, and today I am going to do a year one recap on what it looked like with me launching my coaching business this year. I'm gonna talk to you about all my business. I'm gonna tell you the details. I'm gonna walk you through what we did in our first year, which was 2022, of our actual formal coaching program. And then I'm gonna walk you through the things that we did throughout the year, the lessons that we learned, and how we're elevating things into our year two. Now, this is going to be very beneficial for those of you that are looking to launch your coaching programs and you're trying to make sure that you understand like how it looks for your first year of year one. So if you're just getting started in coaching and or even just your business in general, this is going to be super helpful because I'm going to give you the behind the scenes of what it means to develop and build something. And then I'm also going to share with you my personal struggles, takeaways, lessons learned, and things that are going to be extremely beneficial in your entrepreneurial journey. So let me start off by saying that I'm not new at coaching. What I am is, this is my first year acknowledging that I am going to launch a coaching company. So this year for me was really kind of like the go all in on coaching year. So what that means is that was my only focus for 2022. I just focused on coaching, the end. Before, I had other businesses going on and I would be doing all these different things, and I had multiple income streams from here, that, and the other, and I'd be working on multiple projects. 2022 for me was all in on coaching. And it was, for me, probably one of the most, rewarding years, because I felt like I was finally in alignment to do what I was called to do. Learned a lot of lessons, made a lot of mistakes, had a lot of bloops and blunders along the way. I'm good with that because to me, it was the year of alignment. So I'm going to talk to you about how this all unfolded and what it looks like. So I was just doing the math, looking at my numbers, just to let you know, my earnings for the year, for my first year in coaching, I was just amount collected, and these numbers are off. I had to take a double take because I had two different financial tracking systems. But right now, the total cash collected for my coaching for 2022 was $280,636. Now, I got to go back through and comb these numbers because I have two different databases that we're tracking. But that is all coaching involved. There are still numbers missing that I know because I'm looking at it right now and I see some numbers and some conflicts. So let's just say we did a little under $300,000 for 2022. That is just coaching. That's not affiliate income and all the other things, right? So that was our 2022 year. I had two different things going on for coaching. I was a coach in a mastermind, and then I was also a coach running my own coaching program. Okay. So when I look back at my my coaching, and I'll kind of just focus in this video, I'm just focusing on my personal coaching program and what it is that I did in that program. So when looking at what I did for my coaching program, we ended up with about 40 students, 40 clients this year. So when I say 40 clients, that is group coaching clients plus executive coaching clients. We also had some digital agency clients where we built things out for my digital agency company. And then, and then that's it. So it was literally an all-out coaching year. I'm moving away from my agency where I was building funnels for people, building out people's coaching programs, building out people's sales systems, doing their social media strategies and all that stuff. I've been doing that for several years, for probably about the last 6-7 years. I'm sunsetting that offer. I'm not taking on one-on-one digital agency clients anymore. But what we did decide to do was bring the agency element into our coaching program, where we are able to support our clients with specific, getting specific things built out for them internally. We're working on something long term where we'll have our own systems in place to support them. But that is kind of where we are with the offerings and what it is that we did. So let me talk to you a little bit about how we launched this. And then I'm going to share with you just how this all came together for me this year and some of the things that I worked on. So I typed all this out. It is on my computer. So if you see me constantly looking up, it's because I'm pulling from the notes that I have here to go over kind of how this year played out for us. So I decided to launch my coaching program towards the end of 2021. I've been praying about it. The Lord had been leading me in this direction for a long time, and I was in denial. And finally, I made a decision to be okay with calling myself a coach. That really was what it was. I just didn't want to get into coaching. Although I was doing it anyway, having the title just did something for me. It just did not. I guess it just because it's so grimy now in the coaching space. It's just so overdone and overcooked, and a lot of different things are happening in the space, both good and bad. I was very resistant and reluctant to take on the coaching title. But because someone had introduced me to being a coach in a mastermind, and then kind of thinking through, like my friends was like, Nick, that's all you ever do is coach. And they all called me for coaching, and I was just a coach. That was one of the things that the Lord told me, to be okay with being a coach. And so I was. So year one of business coaching, let's jump into it. Let's talk about what this looked like. So I decided at the end of 2021 to kick off my coaching business. At the beginning of the year in 2022, in January, I decided to do a challenge, right? That's when everybody is kicking off challenges and things like that. I decided to do a challenge, and it was very last minute for me. It was like, oh, I saw all these challenges and ads and stuff. I was like, let me go ahead and be inspired, launch my own challenge. I did it very quickly. My designer and I got together, and we probably cranked stuff out. It was probably a 2-week process of the idea to the build out to the name and the title and all that stuff. So I'm going to give you some stats about the power of the challenge. The challenge actually, we kicked it off in the beginning of February, the first week of February. We had 2 weeks to promote it, 2 weeks to set it up, 2 weeks to promote it. So when I made a decision to start off with the challenge, because I have an agency and I kind of know how all this stuff works, I just set up a simple sales page. My designer was pretty knowledgeable of challenges, so she kind of built out a lot of the pieces of it for me. We had our registration page. We had our, you have a success kit that you sell, right? In upsell, we had a VIP success kit. And then we had our internal pages. So things that once we launched the challenge, they can get day 1, day 2, day 3. So we did a 5-day challenge, with day 6 being a sales webinar where we would talk to people about our program and what they could expect. And so what we did was we kicked off the challenge. Let me give you the stat. We ended up getting 421 people to the website. Now, this was all organic marketing, warm market. One of the things that I did not want to do with the launch of my coaching program is mass market. I know that I was still trying to get clarity around what my offer is, who I'm talking to, what my program needs to look like. I just knew it was a lot of missing elements. So I didn't bother trying to think about getting a bunch of people. I'm always testing first before I get a ton of people into something. So be careful who you're getting advice from, because when you're starting something new, you don't need to have like an aggressive amount of people to your coaching, at least, right? If you are involved in your coaching, you don't need 1,000 people in your coaching program, because can you service them? Are you ready for them? Do you have systems in place? Like, it's way more when you scale up and have a ton of people versus when you're working with 10, 15, 20 people to start, right? So here's what our stats were. We ended up with 421 people visited the website. We ended up having 148 people register, which is a 35% conversion rate, meaning for every 10 people that came to the site, 3.5 of them registered, okay? And when we launched, of the 148 people that registered, well, let's say this, 45 people bought the VIP kit. So that was another 30% conversion rate. Of those that registered, 30% bought the success kit, which was $20, right? And then how many attended? On average, every day we averaged about 33 people. So we'll talk about the parallels to this in a second. Of those 33 people, when we finished the webinar, we finished the challenge rather, we ended up with 12 people enrolling. Now we had about 20 apply, right? But 12 were able to enroll. We had several that did not qualify or were not financially ready to make the investment. It was very low at the time compared to our second, round of beta. So it was very affordable rate, 6-month program. And it was a beta, pure beta, meaning we were going to see, we knew what we wanted to help people do, which was get their businesses launched. The challenge was called Stuck to Unstoppable. And it went extremely well. Now, it was built with biblical principles. We talked about writing the vision and making it plain, getting in alignment with God's will, all the things that we still even apply today. We just didn't know how it was going to go. So it went extremely well. We ended up with 12 enrolled from the webinar, 20 that applied, 8 that could not get in the program for whatever reason. And then in the end, we had more people come after we did the challenge with a total of 20 students for our first beta. We ended up earning from the first round $47,500 from that first beta launch. Now, it didn't all come at one time. It was over the course of 6 months, right? So everybody was on a payment plan. Some was on 7 months, 6 months. It was like, all the things, right? So it wasn't like an upfront earnings, but it allowed us to test and see, oh, this works. The challenge worked, the content worked, the webinar at the end, like the overview of our program worked, like it worked. So let me share with you a couple of lessons that we learned. Number one, you need 4 to 6 weeks to plan. Okay. If you're doing a challenge, you need about 4 to 6 weeks. Secondly, you got to get clear on the outcome that you want to produce. So my thing was, my ideal client at that time was, because I coach so many people anyway, on the side, I'm working with all these different people. I saw that people were getting so much information, they didn't know what to focus on. And my whole process of my coaching program was helping people to learn what stage of business that they're in and how to segment them, how to segment what they focus on based on that stage, okay? So this was to get it started, because I had 5 stages of business, and there's like multiple things that I've been wanting to do for those different stages. But the Lord led me to start with the foundation, because even in people that I work with at 6 figures and sometimes 7 figures, they don't even have a strong foundation. So the Lord led me to start with the foundation first, because it was going to dictate the development of everything, the higher ticket coaching programs and masterminds and things like that. So that's what we did. So this was the person that was overwhelmed and confused with all this information, but had a business that they were trying to get going, but they were stuck because they didn't know what to focus on. So we were very clear on that outcome, and we were very clear that's what the coaching program was going to focus on. So the notes that I have here from this challenge that we learned is, be clear on the outcome you want to produce. Give yourself 4 to 6 weeks. Be clear on who the ready for your offer client is, right? So when people do challenges, we look at numbers and we're like, oh my God, 100 people registered for my challenge. I'm so excited. But if only one person out that group is actually your real ideal client, then it's not necessarily a successful, launch, because you don't want to spend a lot of time, talking to folks that are not your client. So you make sure that your messaging in your challenge needs to match the offer that you have on the back end, so that it leads that client leads them to your offer through your challenge. Okay. Also, you want to collect text. Now, one of the things that I noticed, people are not as responsive. We all know this, right? To email anymore. Why? Because they're getting so much and it's easy to miss. So we had text messaging, and that helped a lot. So when people registered for challenge, they were asked to join the text messaging system. So that made a big difference, because we can immediately say, hey, we're live. Hey, day 2 is out. It's just a great way to communicate with your clients today. We also hosted it in a Facebook group, which is super successful. I did not do a segmented quiz Facebook group. Challenge Facebook group. I put everybody in my Facebook group that was kind of dead, and it woke everybody up, and it actually created engagement from people that had been sitting dormant in there for a while to even register for the challenges. Some even ended up getting in my program. So it was a great way for us to build some excitement and momentum in that Facebook group again. And so another thing was towards the end, when we had our offer, we did not pitch people from the actual training. We actually hosted a call to talk to them. When you're first starting in your business, you do not want to just throw people to a sales page. The best market research ever is to get on the phone with your clients, hear what they have to say, hear what they need, hear where they're at. And this is going to help you in your development of your offer. It gives you clarity about what a person needs, what they're asking for, and where they want to take their business. Okay. We also had other things in place like third-party funding to support people who want to get on a more affordable payment plan and all that stuff. And then we also kept track of people who didn't qualify so that we can still be able to invite them later to probably a down sale of an offer. So that is what worked for our challenge. So we ended up with 20 students, 45K from our initial. Now listen, all of this was on a whim. This is how God works, right? Now, albeit I have a lot of experience and background and, had a list and all that stuff already. So yes, I am coming from a place of experience, but I had not done anything really in like 5 to 6 years. It had been really dead. A lot of stuff that I was doing was just random stuff, but it wasn't anything solid. So I was happy with these results because it was all a test run for me, right? So we did our first beta. We kicked that off in February. It ran till about July. And let's talk about the beta. So the beta, the first round of the beta, was straight up trying to see where we can guide people to get the best results. I did have a formal outline mapped out, and we walked through that until it wasn't working. So what you'll discover when you're launching stuff, in the beginning, some things that you thought would work just doesn't work. We didn't have people moving as fast as we wanted them to. We found people dealing with a lot of confusion. We found some convoluted areas. And so we had to identify that quickly and make pivots quickly so that our clients were not risking time for these things that were not working. So when we saw stuff wasn't working, we were switching to a more streamlined support system for them on how their brain works. So you will discover that as the expert in your industry, how you think and how your client thinks are two totally different things. You're thinking from a already know this standpoint, where they're thinking from a I don't understand any of this standpoint. So what happens is when you put content together and they get it, there's gaps. There's things that are missing. There's things that are too fast that you're introducing to them. There are things that are taking too long. There are things that are just going to be distractions that you don't need to introduce to them yet. You'll find all these different pieces and components, and you'll begin to understand why you need to do things a bit differently and what that looks like and how to switch some things up, right? So that's what we did. Like the first 6 months was all, hey, y'all are spending too much time on this. We're going to switch that up. We're going to remove this. We're going to do this. Like it was really trying to move things around so we can see how the flow would get them to the result. It's not about convoluting it with information. It's about what can we do from here to get them to there and being able to support them the way they need to be supported to produce the outcome that they need. So that's what we did. So there's a couple of blunders on my part in the first beta. We realized we had too many different stages of business in one room. So there were people who was just getting started, people who were established and already in business, right? There were people launching and still trying to figure out their idea, were people who were growing and trying to get to 6 figures, and some even already in business in another area, but wanting to incorporate this, and they were just way more savvy than the room. So we quickly realized, we're gonna have to segment this, okay? So we ended up introducing our power circle. We had our inner circle, which was a level 1. And we introduced our power circle. Really, it's level 2. And we introduced our power circle, which is level 3. Level 1 was our challenge folks. They're trying to figure it out. But we realized that we need to introduce a level up because it was too much. When you have advanced people in a startup room, it is frustrating for them. And my goal is to help people be segmented into the stages that they're in so that ultimately they can build a 7-figure business, right? Get their business to seven figures, and just grow a real business, right? It's not just the number, it's building a long-term sustainable business. But when you start getting in the inner workings, you realize like you need funding. And we'll talk about this in a second, right? Because yeah, it sounds really good, made almost 300 grand, but how much did we spend this year, right? To get the business up and running. So we wanted to segment people based on their skill levels. So that's what we quickly did. We introduced the power circle and started segmenting people at a higher level in higher rooms for a different conversation. The next thing we did, we had a lot of different industries. Now, we are a faith-based business coaching company that teaches people how to launch, grow, and scale. One of the things that I'm constantly going back and forth about with my own, within my own goals is, should I narrow this down to just coaching, right? So that is something that I'm playing with right now in my head is, should it be just for people wanting to launch coaching-based businesses? My biggest battle for that is that a lot of the people that I work with, they have a form of a service-based business and a coaching program. So it's dual elements in it. So anyway, but we are still playing with that. Do we narrow this industry down for a lot more focused and streamlined process, right? Because if somebody's doing a course, somebody's launching a service-based business, and somebody's doing a coaching program, it's three different ways in which you're going to build that out. So we're still trying to figure that out. Next, we realized that introducing tech early is an easy way to get your folks frustrated and fail. So we had to remove tech from the startup process and simplify how we're going to get people to get started without all the complications up front. And then community and providing accessibility, it overcompensated for the development of the program. So this is the thing about a beta. When you're doing a beta, you're going to find that you're building it as you go along. So to make it make sense to your clients, you have a level of extra accessibility to them to compensate for the structure that you're building that is not yet in place. So my clients, these coaching clients, are spoiled because they got an endless amount of access to me. I mean, we did a lot of one-on-one coaching calls. We did a lot of group coaching calls. I even started bringing coaches on along the way, and they got one-on-ones with them. So we understood up front that we will spend a lot of time with our clients in the name of overcompensating for what we're lacking with the structure and the development of the program full out, okay? So those are my lessons learned from the challenge and from the beta. And so what we decided to do when we were getting ready to launch for beta number 2 is start thinking about fixing those elements along the way. We also launched our first live event in February, which was just a random, hey, let's do a meetup. And we did. And we had a speaker. We had about 15 people register who was kind of in our coaching space and in this community at this time. I think we ended up with about 20 plus folks there. And it was just really community. We ended up running into one of my good friends who was hosting a meeting there at the same time. He came and spoke. He's big into trading and in the market, and he's a wealth building guy. And another one of my friends came through. I mean, it was just phenomenal, just connections. And so we had our photographer there who was doing headshots for folks, and it was just great. And we realized that incorporating community into our program was critical because people wanted to connect, especially after the pandemic. Now, the second beta, we launched the second beta in July. We did not do a challenge. That was the only real thing we did to launch the program for the year. This program, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I've always been very discreet about what I do because I've always not felt ready for the crowd that will come. That's something I've worked through just in my inner work. And now we're getting to a place where we're getting things set up so that we can handle the crowd, because I know when I start marketing, we're gonna have a lot of people. And I don't like attracting a bunch of people that I'm not ready for. But we ready now. Like, we're getting all the core pieces and stuff in place, and I'll break that down in a different video. But the second beta, I did not do a challenge. I did some webinars. I did a couple of sales webinars. But it was very lightweight. And the reason why, we ended up having 12 people renew. So of the 20 students we had for the first round, We had 12 renew, and I think we had 2 drop out because of finances. And so we ended up with 12 renewals, and we ended up getting more students. Most of the new students came from referrals, people who loved the program so much they were telling their friends and they invited them. So let's talk about the second round of beta. It was super soft, meaning it was really just word of mouth. We ended up with referrals. I spoke on a few platforms that generated some leads. We ended up with 24 students total and 12 renewals, okay? I don't have the dollar amount for that, but obviously we did 40 something in the first half of the year. We probably did 60 something, 70 something in the second half for the round 2 because the price went up. And yeah, things changed because we started adding different elements and all that stuff. We now have the free event, so people can come to the our quarterly events. We're doing quarterly events, so they get to come. It's called Get Launched Live, and so it was a lot of different elements that they got. So it kind of went up in price, but the value definitely went up dramatically. And so in the second beta, we ditched all the complicated stuff. We literally got our clients to get to the market very quickly. We took our 6-month program, we broke it down into 2 parts. We focused on getting launched in the first half and then getting visible in the second half. And then we just focused on like what they needed to get launched. We also introduced Free Coaching Fridays, which was a way for us to promote our community as a whole, for people to coach and actually connect with their potential clients and get clear on if what they need. It was just a phenomenal way for them to start getting the clarity. So when we started introducing what we call our high value beta launch framework to our clients, let me just share with you some of the benefits of this. It allowed us to build a framework that was structured and simple for them to follow. Okay, so we put this framework in place as 5 simple steps that we walk them through. And in that process, it allows them to be able to clearly set up something that they can get started with that they felt confident about. And then it also allowed us to get them in front of their clients quickly. So they moved quickly, they got in front of clients quickly, and they got clear quickly. They were also able to close deals. We taught them, introduced them to the conversation of sales. How do you convert sales? How do you handle a sales call? We went through all these elements because they were super critical, because what we wanted to teach them was you can close deals without a funnel, okay? So you don't have to have a big complicated funnel, run ads, a huge following, a big list to make money. You literally can begin closing deals with just phone calls. So we taught them the power of calls and how to close deals. And so this allowed, just check out some of our success stories, and I wrote them down, so I'm just going to share with you. This helped people like Nicole, who joined us in her first week of joining us. She earned $7,500 in her first launch, in her first week of joining us, following the blueprint, the high value framework that we gave her. It helped Shaletta get to 10, in 10 months, she made over $100,000. $102,000 was her number in 10 months because she did all that we taught her how to do with this process, right? It helped Pam finally launch her real estate coaching program and get her first group of students. It helped Karen launch her first workshop and attract her first group of clients. It helped Derek get his first 10K for his beta boot camp, right? And he's now starting to get a lot more momentum and traction with clients, getting a lot of clients, even introducing a done for you service at a high ticket, right? So these were things that we saw that when we switched up what we thought they wanted to what they actually needed, and we were okay with saying, hey, let's give this a try and see how it works, people were moving quickly. So we had so many people get their businesses finally launched, get their first couple of clients, make their first couple of $1,000s. Some people made 5 figures, some people made 6 figures. Well, just one person made 6 figures so far. But we had a couple people made multiple 5 figures, okay? And so that was year 1. We ended up, I did, like I said, I coached for a mastermind as well. But it's totally different, so I don't even want to merge the two. But that was very, very supportive as well and helpful, because in that we get to work with different people in different industries at different levels and get feedback, and also see what's working and what's not working, right? And so it was really cohesively supportive for what God was telling me to do, which was what was so powerful. It was just trusting God. When God said go, go, right? So to hit almost 300K in year one, going full out on coaching was powerful. So as we're transitioning, I'm gonna talk to you about some cons, right? And I'm gonna talk to you about some lessons learned and some of the things that what the year looked like for me and what some of the focuses were and even what it cost me, okay? Because yes, this money is great to make, but I had made a couple of revelations. One of the big revelations that I realized about my coaching program personally is that this is not just for me. I am not really caught up anymore in being a face of a brand of everybody being wowed over Nicole Cooper, right? I think in this internet space, we want to become influencers and we want to become famous and we want to become celebrities in the space. And I'm kind of over that. I think the pandemic changed me a lot. It did change me. It made me love my quiet time and love being behind the scenes and love my space. So I don't feel compelled to be on all the time. I literally want to use these platforms for business and a little bit of casual connection and community, but I'm just not drawn to that anymore. And I think that just comes with maturity, right? Where it used to be great to have your name and lights and everybody know your name. But I tell people all the time, I want to be Clive Davis now, not Whitney Houston. So I want to help build the talent and be behind the talent and not just be the talent, right? Make me Benny Medina, make me, I want to be like Dre producing the beats. So that's just where I'm at. I'm still coaching, still got to build the brand, right? But I realize that I'm going to be opening up this platform that I'm creating so other talent can shine. So even my coaching clients have now become coaches in my programs. And some of our students that we call leaders, they have giftings and talents that we're pulling them out on to be able to introduce that to our community. So we're creating an ecosystem. And I just heard somebody talk about this. So instead of being one to many, where it's me coaching many, it's many to many. It's the community helping each other. So building a community where we have experts and leaders in the space to help guide and advise people on specific topics, being a part of this community as well as me contributing, right? Being the overseer and the visionary. So that means that a lot of elements of what we're doing is shifting and changing in how we build out this program. But it also makes space to do a lot of things that I've been wanting to do that I was trying to figure out, how am I going to do this by myself? Because I already knew the vision God gave me was not just for me, okay? So that's that. So we added more coaches to our platform, and we also are investing in building this out the right way. So before, when I used to launch programs, you do them scrappy and you kind of leave them scrappy. You don't put a lot into it. Now I'm thinking longevity, right? We spent a lot more money trademarking items this year, getting things copywritten, investing in strategists to kind of show us the best methods and ways to do things, helping with the hiring instructional designers to support us in our process of start to flow, right? Like, what does this look like to lead people down a path from a curriculum standpoint, and how do you put that together? We're hiring, designers and developers to build out the infrastructure. We had a person that was kind of our CTO this year that had to do a lot of tech. We have a VA behind the scenes that has to take all the content that we're constantly producing, all the lives and all that stuff, and shifting it. It was just a lot of moving parts. So we hired a social media manager. So you hear the numbers, revenue, but profit. My bookkeeper is still going through our P&Ls to look at what we ended up profit-wise at the end of the year. But overall, we spent a lot of money last year hiring help. My focus while we were building this, the Lord told me that this is not just going to be about me. I'm getting it started, but I knew I was making room for other people. I just didn't realize how fast they would show up. By the end of the year, we ended up with a total of 7 coaches, including me. Sales coach, a brand development and messaging coach, a clarity coach, a curriculum coach, a sales funnel coach, and a sales coach, right? And then myself. We had specialists in different areas, and I absolutely love it. Oh my gosh, because how many times do you feel like you got to know all the things for your clients, and so you overcompensate by overlearning and overinvesting in things that really are not in your wheelhouse? I don't want to do that. I am over 40 now. My brain is like, listen, this is mastery season. We're going to pick that one thing we good at, and that's where we're going to put our energy, because we can't be doing 50 things at one time. So I'm super excited to have that. And most people be like, well, you don't have a lot of students. Why would you do all that? I am preparing for where we are going and growing. And a lot of this was just practice year for me. It was a beta year. Like, let's test, let's see. Does this work? Doesn't this work? How does this come together? What are some of the key things that we need to put in place? And so it just significantly changed how I approached what I'm building. It was just such a great investment. So, and thank God I have a group of people that see the vision. So they understand, like, I'm not out here kicking out major bucks yet, right? A lot of them, some of them volunteered this year. Because they understand the vision and where we're going, but it helped them in their own businesses and it helped them in their journey. And one of the things that I do, this is something that I absolutely am honored and grateful that I've learned this lesson. Build up your team. I think what we tend to do is we want to take people and keep them for ourselves. They're mine. They're mine. They're going to build my stuff, and they're in my program, and they are going to be my coach. You don't own these folks. God loans them to you to collaboratively connect for a vision that you have. So your goal and your role is building them up while they are part of your community. One of the biggest challenges that I see with people when it comes to having other folks in their community is scarcity. They have this scarcity mentality, and they don't include the people into their vision. They just try to use them to generate revenue, but they don't create that cultural connection with the community of their people. And I've heard this so many times where in different programs, I remember a couple of years ago, I took on a client that was in a very popular program, and it was so much happening, so much chaos inside of it, and lawsuits happening, and coaches not sticking. I mean, just like a lot of internal conflict. And it's because the person leading it often feels like everybody works for me and it's my way or no way, and they don't become inclusive. And it just jeopardizes your program so much. Are you going to have those people that might come in that you have to be mindful of, that are shady, might do some stuff underhandedly, that make you a little weary? Yes, it can happen. But I believe that when you're a great person with great intentions and a great vision, you'll attract great people. And even if you attract a bad seed that comes into your community, the level of how you operate will eventually expose them and weed them out. So you don't want to level down the quality of the room out of a lack of trust. You want to elevate the quality of the room and let that expose those who don't belong there. So that's a whole different conversation. But we pour into our coaches. I do one-on-one coaching with my coaches, on call, like whatever they need, because they have their businesses too. So I don't treat them like they're mine and I own them or whatever. I ask them, how would you like to support this program? What are the contributions that you want to add value to? What are the things that you desire to create? And I let them tell me how they want to invest and what they see. There are also things that I allow, like there are people who are good at certain things that they do business with my clients. Now, we did have a big issue this year. It kind of threw me off. So we set parameters in place because there is a downside to transactional business from your team with your clients. So we've had to create some parameters and stuff around that, and actually bring a lot of stuff in-house where we pay them per client for different things. And so we've gotten that kind of underway. So it's a lot of wonderful changes that is happening going into year two. Year two, we're focusing on segmentation. We are going to start going public once we get our assets and stuff in place, which we're finalizing now. And we're going to level up our public content and messaging. And let me just talk about that really quick. Y'all, I gotta be honest. I dumb myself down so much publicly. Like I talk a lot of inspiration publicly. I never really talk a lot of business. The reason why I did this or I stopped talking a lot about business was because for many years, I wasn't clear on what I wanted to offer. My issue has always been attracting way more business than I was ready for. And I don't like disappointing people because I don't have my stuff together. So over the years, it's made me very mute about things that would be, and this may sound crazy, but it's just my reality of what I've been dealing with, right? I needed time to get clear before the crowd came. Put it to you like that. I needed time to get clear before the crowd came. I was okay. God was really good to me. And it is good to me. I continue to get business always from somewhere without ever marketing myself. So I was good with referral-based business for several years. I was good with being low key. I was good with making a couple $100,000 a year and just not being in the in crowd. There were times where I felt like I've missed my mark or I missed my opportunity, or maybe I'm crazy because I coulda, shoulda, woulda. Most people who know me be like, oh my God, you could have been this, you could have been that, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. There's so many people not as talented as you, they're making way more money than you and blah, blah, blah. And I hear that a lot. But y'all, I had to go through my journey to be in alignment with what God will for me, man. Making money for me is easy. Building business for me is easy. It comes natural. It's what I do. I eat, I drink, I sleep it. I love it. Business is my ministry, but there's nothing more important to me than being in God's will. And so because I did so many things over the years that I had a lot of success at that I hated, I just was okay with taking the time to ask myself what I really wanted and what did God want for me and how those aligned into what the business model looked like. So yeah, I'm a little slow out the gate. Yes, I may have missed a lot of opportunities. Yes, I may have left a lot of money on the table. But can I tell you, I am so at peace and so grateful for my journey. I am not in any way remorseful, regretful, or any of that. As a matter of fact, this happened a couple of days ago. But I was looking at this picture of me and people that I've worked with in my past. And it was one picture of me and 3 other women. And to this day, all 3 of those women are multi-millionaires. Like super, super successful, mega successful. And here I am on the front part of the banner. And it was like, but what about you? And my mind started playing tricks on me. Like, ha, 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 they made it and you didn't. It was like all these mental conversations about what coulda, shoulda, woulda, and how I missed the mark and how maybe they're better than me and all these things. Like my brain wanted to go there and the Lord was like, I'm not finished with you yet. Right. And I had to immediately hold on, right, to the Lord's hand to say, but Daddy, you got me. Right. And the truth is, y'all, I had to be detoxed. I was watching a sermon the other day. I watch sermons all day long online. And one of them was talking about idols and the false idols that we have, false gods that we have, and how that impacts our bloodline and like what it does to create blockage from what God desires to do. And I realized I immediately wrote down that business was my idol, that it had became my God, and making money became my God. And I remember one of my friends asked me, she was like, Nick, why do you think you have this blockage, right? And I was like, I don't know. Well, now I know. I was worshiping, making money and building businesses. It had became my false God. So I had to detox myself from a lot of that and a lot of worshiping this success path to get back to where God wanted me, because he still wanted me in this space, but in a different frame of mind with a different level of approach. And so I had to be humbled, and boy, was I humbled. So when I look on what could have been, what would have been, what I've missed, what I shoulda, coulda, woulda, I'm just reminded that the word of God says in Romans 8:28, for all things work together for the good of those that love God and are called according to his will and purpose. And that lets me know that I am still on target. It's not too late. I'm grateful for this year, 300K of year 1 of launching this coaching program, and finally having the community of what we're building as a team to be in our space and supported. My goal for my first year was team. I need team to support me. So I was investing in infrastructure. I was investing in community support, and I was investing in team. How can I build up my army of people to bring this vision forward? So that is what happened for me in year one of my coaching business, and how all this came together. And I would just say, I don't feel like we're just getting started. I feel like God allowed me to take everything I've ever done and put it together, and now we're able to build it all the way out fully. So this year we do have I don't really have a lot of big ambitious goals. My real goals is consistency and being more present and completing the internal infrastructure so we can start getting louder online and letting people become a part of our program. Because I really do kind of low key not market what I'm doing. So now we're going to change things up on that and get us marketed. So that is the overview for year one for me launching my faith-based coaching program. We changed the name, by the way, like 3 times. We changed the name a lot of times. We changed the program a lot of times. You discover quickly that will happen, but it's not about any of that as much as it is about what's going to produce results for your client and letting that formulate all the other moving parts, the brand name and this, that, and the other. So that is year one. This is a lengthy video, but it is something that hopefully you got a lot of nuggets out of, because I share a lot of great, valuable insight in this. And so if this helped you and you loved what I share, put comments below, subscribe to the channel, let us know how this has helped you. What were some of your biggest takeaways? And what were your biggest ahas? I always love to know, what are your biggest ahas? So that is it for this video. I will be doing way more videos on lessons that I've learned and key recommendations that I have as you're building out your business. So stay plugged in. And also tell me, what would you like to learn more of? What additional topics do you think I should talk about? Because I'm going to get way more into business now. Finally get to talk about business publicly. I hadn't been doing that. But I'm going to talk a lot more about business. And so I would love to know what kind of things you would love to hear me talk about. That is it for this video, this episode. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video.